Now, Did, you're very welcome back to part two with my discussion here today with Billy McGuire in Cap in County Limerick. Now, part one, we just dealt with the letter to Michael D. Higgins. But we want to just say, Billy, I should say, wants to actually clarify a few things.
Well, I do, because I don't have any disagreement with anybody.
Yeah.
You know, the Free State was imposed long before I was born.
Yes.
But our generation has to work through it, and
yes.
And the wrongs that were done to those volunteers and our people have to be accounted for.
Yeah.
And that's all we're asking. We're only asking for truth, knowledge and information. Now, it's the sovereignty. And as you know, Henry VIII, what he did was he changed the monarchy in Britain into a corporation. And the whole point of sovereignty is you go into another country, you respect the sovereignty of that state, you respect the sovereignty of the government.
Yes.
The sovereignty of the people.
Yes.
And you respect their assets. But Henry VIII didn't do that. He expanded his empire by, I have to say, robbing and stealing all the assets of other countries.
Yes.
And that to me is not right. And slavery is not on. And the point of our independence, everything else, was to have a sovereign government,
yes.
not a corporation government. Now we understand today, and today we live, and all the money and everything. A corporation is only interested in one thing, money.
Yes.
They're not interested in people or anything else. And the people who run those corporations don't want to be held accountable to anybody. But in the first sovereign Dáil government, all Teachta Dáiles had to be accountable to the sovereign Dáil government, the sovereign Dáil courts, and to the War of Independence as a defence force, and accountable to the sovereign people. That's what we were talking about, the 21st of January 1919.
Correct.
That's when you were accountable to the sovereign people. And I think it should be put back at once. And there's no place for truth, knowledge and information. The people must be told the truth. And, the conflict as we have, and we'll repeat it again, is the 1918 32 county election, when Britain called that on the 14th of December 1918, and the 28th is IRB Sinn Féin, and that's we bought Vaughan's Hotel for 29 Parnell Square, and we put up a huge sum of money. There was a fund there going back since Cúchonaic Maguire's time, when he was poisoned by Britain. Britain, you see, had to have the Shannon, and that's what's come up later when we talk about Askeaton. And Cúchonaic Maguire, he was the last person to own the Shannon. And Britain tried to claim, the Shannon isn't in Fermanagh at all.
Yes.
But if you look at what it is in Fermanagh, and the Shannon pot is where it's not, but the pigeon pot where it rises.
Yes.
They marked it and did it. As John Creedon did it there only recently.
Yes.
That's from the Shannon, and that's our territory right up. And this is where Askeaton will all come in, with the Knights Templars and all that.
It's amazing, absolutely. But what I wanted to clarify there was that you have utmost respect for Michael D. Higgins and the Garda Síochána. Very important as well.
We were children running around in Fergus.
Isn't that amazing?
You know. But my problem is that both Mary McAleese and Mary Robinson, they are supposed to respect the sovereign seal of Dáil and they have that. Now that's the conflict that I have. This is why I indicted Michael D. Higgins.
Yes.
That and what they did with the proclamation we were founded on St. Patrick's Day, 1858. That's why we celebrate St. Patrick's Day.
Yes.
By James Stephens down in 16 and John O'Mahony in Lombard Street, John O'Mahony in Doheny's in New York.
Yes.
And that's why the world is green. And they passed by William Smith O'Brien's down O'Connell Street. And he was one of our founders. And the parade won't even stop and recognise him. Nor will they stop and recognise 16 Lombard Street. That has to stop. You have to have sovereignty. If you don't have sovereignty, especially in Europe and that, we can't. We don't want to be lying to Europe, or being dishonest, or being cute. We have a sovereign Dáil government that was hard won by here.
By sacrifice.
And we should not, and Michael D. Higgins is right. We shouldn't have had a War of Independence. We shouldn't have had what happened in after that.
Yes.
All the trouble we had. Because we had a democratic wish of the people.
Yes.
That was the Unionist people who think that in a democracy, we won, as I said, that's what's so important. They only won 25 seats. And they're claiming that 25 seats entitled them to Northern Ireland. If that's the case, every democracy in the world is wrong, and every democratic world is government is wrong.
Yes.
You have to have those things correct. You know, you have to be truthful because you're under God. And are you going to lie to God and be dishonest to God? Well, that's what you're doing. And that's why, look, I have no problem with the unionist people or anybody else, or for that matter.
No.
And I'm not going to but look, and that was sovereignty for all 32 counties, all the people of the 32 counties. And when I was invited to Stormont, that's the unionist people up there, it was all about sovereignty. And it's time the Queen, and it's time we'll go through it in Askeaton about the Star of David and their sovereignty. But this is what's important. To me, when they took off that, and I just read it, the GA Corporate Tree Serpent Medal since the 4th of September 2008 to date. And this was the medal with the sovereign seal.
Yes.
Nobody has the right to take off that sovereign seal.
Yes.
And who did that in the GAA? Nobody. No, they did it on their own bat because they wanted to sell the sporting rights to America. They could have come to the IRB, who founded and funded
Of course.
the
Negotiated. Spoke.
and asked, we want a
mediated.
license.
Yes.
They still don't have a license because nobody can give them a license.
Now, just to state something for viewers as well at home and abroad, and particularly in America, there is a line of communication, thanks to you, Billy, that's now starting to open up between the GA Council President and yourself on this issue, which is one. Now, that's a very positive.
Well, look, that is very positive.
It is,
and it's also very positive what Michael D. Higgins said about the founding of the Free State.
Yes.
You
see, they are in tune. They are talking. I mean,
but there isn't the time.
We've
had 100 years of savagery and brutality.
Yes.
There was no need for it.
But Billy, it's your influence as well, because your knowledge, your passion, your heartfelt commitment, your transparency in all of this has affected, as one listener said to me, infected so many people out there of all ages, of all denominations, because people are asking now the questions, well, hold on, are we being conned by government? Are our governments then proper and real? Are our elections real?
How could they be? It's 20 Dáil Éireann is a 32 county mandate. It never sat in Leinster House. Leinster House was bought for the Free State to impose the Free State as a royal and to pay for Britain's war as a corporation. That's what we have. You hear today about corporate tax and all this. Where's the corporate? We're not a corporate. The sovereign Dáil Éireann government doesn't owe any money. There's no debt.
But you see, the problem there that I see as a layman is that people are very confused. I mean, okay.
That's deliberately done.
Because I'm actually coming back now. I had a long discussion in Glynn this morning with a very, very well educated man. And, he's talking about the whole area of this COVID. Because he's saying that we were forced to wear masks, forced to have injections. And he said it's a controlling factor. So this is very worrying.
Using that, if it was one, this is what the same thing here. Using that as the sovereign government.
Yes.
When you're not the sovereign government, you hear politicians. Dáil Éireann never sat in Leinster House. Leinster House, as we said, was bought for the Free State by the Free State to pay for Britain's war debt as a corporation.
I just want to come back on something that's important as well, because it's going to get very heated, this debate nationally about the decision of our President Michael D. Higgins on not attending the centenary, we'll call it, celebrations of the division of this country. And you have actually applauded him for that.
I have, and I congratulate him for doing it. And it's time that he goes to the GAA as well.
Yes, of course.
And how can you go and pretend? Look, there it is there for anybody who wants to look at that.
Yep, there again.
When they took the medal off. It's there in black and white for anybody.
No, I see it. No, it is. It's actually, it's becoming now a controversy within the GAA, because members of the GAA have approached me
Well,
and said, we didn't know this.
We never asked.
We never asked.
They didn't know. I mean, I gave Tipperary, we had that.
You were telling me that, yes.
And they were delighted to get it.
Yes.
And look at, there's Sam Maguire wearing it on his jersey, the half.
That can't be denied, because that's actually factual, you know?
I have probably a better one. But
No, we see it here. Yeah, we see it here. There's a reason for him wearing it.
Yeah, and that's
That is Sam
on St.
Maguire.
Patrick's Day.
Yes.
He's the secretary of the IRB.
Yes.
He's also my granduncle's secretary in Vaughan Hotel. But it's, look, and anyway, that's that letter. I just showed that I wrote to Brennan and told him about the protocol and about
But
the
in
heart.
fairness now, to give him credit, the line of communication is now opening up. So please God, you know, you never know what's going to happen out of this.
Look, there's the medal.
Yes.
And there's Nicky Brennan, right?
Yes.
And there's the new medal.
Yes.
The same way.
I just want to show viewers this.
What they're doing. I'm looking for that, the heart that once. But it's our sovereignty. You can't sit in Europe without sovereignty.
No.
Simple as that. And lying to Europe is not on. And fraud, that's fraud. And we cannot have fraud.
Not within the governance of the people of Europe or any country, for that matter.
No, that's one letter you have to read, because I wrote to Nicky Brennan.
Yes.
And it's only one page.
Yes.
You know, the other letter, and I explained all about the harps and the sovereignty, where it came from.
Right.
Probably 40,000 years ago in Loughborough, you know.
Well, I'll tell you what, just to finalise, and just before I go, it is important to say that you have the utmost respect for the Garda Síochána and the work they do. I know.
And that you know, why they did that, because, I mean, I would have been in contact with them.
Yes.
And we complied with COVID-19. And those 5 people, volunteers that went up to read that, the proclamation at the mansion, at Lombard Street, 16 Lombard Street.
Right.
You know, they knew all that. And to do that for reading, and a judge that didn't throw it out, a Free State judge, for reading our proclamation.
But you know what I think? It's a learning process for everybody, all of this. For judges, for the police force, for the GAA, for historians. But this is just to...
Well, I haven't nothing against the unions.
Of course not. No, none of us have.
You know, we come from Fermanagh. That's where we come from. And I would be quite happy to go back there again.
Yeah.
You know?
But well, anyway, I just conclude with this. I will.
Because that proves that I did write him and the date and everything.
Well, it's addressed anyway to Mr. Nicky Brennan, President of the GAA, Croke Park, Dublin 3. Dear Mr. Brennan, before you leave office, please put back the sovereign seal and era on the GAA medal that you removed as President of the GAA from the GAA medal. My letter of the 5th of September 2006 explained the protocol for the medal and Sam Maguire and Liam McCarthy trophies, which are still the property of the Irish Republican Brotherhood, IRB. This was signed and sealed on this day, the 1st of March, Anno Domini, 2009, under the sovereign seal of the Sovereign Republic of Eire. William James Maguire, President of the Irish Republican Brotherhood. But now, in fairness, we don't want to damage any future communication, but let's see what transpires. And it's a great advance, and it's great news.
It is.
That something good and positive.
You're promoting history. It was a wrong thing to do, not to teach history to. You could read that if you want to. It was quite a good article.
No, I'll read that. No, I'll leave that. Yes,
and it was on Sunday, the 19th of April, 2019, the Sunday Independent wrote it, and it was Jerome Riley. And you can get it on
Billy Maguire. Now, that's what I want to promote, is billymaguire.com. That has everything on it, and it's great. I've been on the site numerous times, but that is the site where the people in America are going to. They're getting all of the information, all of our interviews as well.
They tell me it's the only place they're getting it.
Well,
and they thank you for your addiction and for doing it for them. But there's something that you need to look at too.
Yes.
I said, you can read that actually, so it's not that long.
This is on the Irish Daily Star, 5th of September,
And the Sunday
11 o'clock.
Independent.
The Irish Republican Brotherhood are commemorating their members and their 1916 rising at the 1916 plot, Arbour Hill Cemetery, Dublin 9. And it goes on to say the GAA organisation was the background of our independence and is still owned by the Irish Republican Brotherhood and is the senior, the senior All-Ireland GAA Championship medal, and the Liam McCarthy and the Sam Maguire trophies are still the property of the Irish Republican Brotherhood. This is all now being spoken of, which is great, Billy.
Yeah, but just look about the course if you want to talk about when they took off that. I wrote to them that every time anybody interfered with the harp, the sovereign seal, the psaltery, that something awful happened in the world.
Yes.
And since then, if you read it, you'll see we had banking. Do you remember the banking?
I do indeed. I just read the last paragraph. It just says, "It is no mystery. Anyone who has ever interfered with the sovereign seal was brought back down nothing but bad luck upon their shoulders," says Mr. Maguire, who has campaigned tirelessly on the issue of contacting successive presidents and Taoiseach to have the importance of the sovereign seal given proper recognition. The harp is a very mysterious symbol and thousands of years old. Various invaders came to Ireland throughout history. They felt that if they got their hands on the original, they could rule the world, explains historian Thomas Moriarty. The new lettering on the GAA All-Ireland medal bears an uncanny resemblance to three serpents. Well,